4 years, $160 million. That's $40 million a year. And there's different ways that you can slice and dice a contract and evaluate it, but I've looked at this thing every possible way. This is, even though it's only 4 years, but the fact that it's only 4 years is one of the reasons why it's so good, to pay out this kind of money with only 4 years and to eliminate or at least minimize the dummy years on the back end that allow the team to control the guy and have a year-to-year option. There's 1 year for the Cowboys where they have a team-held option. It's the last year of the deal. If it's just not working out, it's 3 years, $126 million, $42 million a year, and the Cowboys could rip it up after 3 years with minimal consequence. There's no guaranteed money that goes into that fourth year. So this is a very real contract for Dak Prescott. $40 million average at signing, $40 million in new money. We'll talk about that distinction coming up. $66 million signing bonus, Chris. That's a record. $75 million paid out completely with no deferral this year. That's a record.
Whoa.
And $95 million fully guaranteed at signing. Fully guaranteed. One of the key factors. How much fully guaranteed when you put your name on paper? $95 million on a 4-year deal. That is amazing and also a record, and only on a 4-year deal.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's mind-blowing. It's one of those things when you see it, you just go, whoa, like those are big numbers. That's big money, good for him. First thing I want to ask you, right? All right. Like, because, of course, this is a great deal for Dak Prescott. We know that. I give Jerry Jones and everybody a lot of credit, certainly for getting this done when you got your guy. But do you think, this just comes into my mind, does Jerry look at this and go, well, I got my 5-year deal because I franchised him last year? That's just the first thing that came to my head. Is that where he goes, okay, fine, I'll give you your 4 because I kind of cheated you with 5, and, you add the $31.9 million or whatever he made last year, and now it becomes an average of, 39 or something like that, right in that ballpark. Do you think Jerry looks at it like that, or do they just wipe the slate clean and just go, here's a new 4-year deal?
I doubt that last year he would have gotten $191.4 million over 5 years,
right,
with the $31.4 guaranteed, and then after one season, a season in which you suffer a badly broken ankle, you still have $126 million guaranteed total. $31 million of it is guaranteed for injury, $95 million fully guaranteed at signing. I think Jerry will tell himself anything
to
feel better about this, but they blew it by waiting.
Yes.
That's the bottom line.
Yes.
They blew it by waiting, and now they're going to be right back in the same spot in 3 years. After 3 years and $126 million, they're going to be embarking on the final year of a contract for Dak Prescott with no ability whatsoever, as a practical matter or otherwise, to ever apply the franchise tag to him again. This is part of what you get when you have the leverage, Chris, to get it all.
Sure.
Now, there was a report yesterday that the deal will have a no-tag clause and a no-trade clause. No-trade clause. Let's talk about the no-trade clause for a second. This is becoming more and more common in these franchise quarterback contracts. And for a true franchise quarterback, I think it's meaningless. Look at Carson Wentz and the Bears. Carson Wentz didn't want anything to do with the Bears, so the Bears aren't going to try to bring Carson Wentz to town.
Exactly.
If you have a franchise quarterback who doesn't want to play for you, you're not going to trade for him,
right,
regardless of what his contract says about a no-trade clause.
No, agreed. The no-trade clause is not really necessary for, like, the top quarterbacks in football. You're right. There's the old, thing we've talked about. Yeah, okay, we're going to bring a quarterback in here that doesn't really want to be here, and he's going to, say all these negative things in the locker room and be grumpy and unhappy and all those type of things. Nobody wants that. So that makes no sense. And then, you get back to the 4-year contract and what Dak Prescott made and all that. Hey, I'm sure, he's going to get back to the market. But it's rare that we see, like, I think they look at it and go, well, we think he's going to be here for a long time. At some point, we're going to renegotiate before that 4th year is over, and we'll figure it out then. Because you don't usually see.
They better.
I know.
They better.
You usually don't see talents like Dak Prescott leave town. And I understand people are going to go, oh, Carson Wentz or Jared Goff. Listen, he's not Carson Wentz or Jared Goff. He's better. There's just no other way to say it. And, hey, Carson Wentz at his best at his play there, okay, maybe it's close, but he doesn't have all the other issues Carson Wentz has. That's what I was, saying a little bit earlier on. I mean, when you got your guy, you got to make a move and make sure you secure him. And they got a guy that is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He's a top 10 quarterback. He's a top 10 leader, and he does all the things as far as top 10 face of the franchise type of guys too, that you want your star and your name and everything to be associated with a guy like that. So from that standpoint, I understand them giving up this type of money. Listen, you know me, I'm always like, well, does it always have to be the next guy up gets more money? Well, I know, Mahomes is still the leader in the leader house there with $45 million per year, but it's not really that, as we've talked about a lot.
Dak Prescott's contract
is way better.
Is immensely better.
I got it.
Because when this contract ends, Patrick Mahomes is still going to be committed for 7 more years to the Chiefs, and who knows how different the world's going to be then from a cap standpoint and from a revenue standpoint.
No, I know that too, and then that still goes back into the conversation. The moment 4 years from now when Patrick Mahomes says he wants a new contract, he'll get one, so that's not going to be an issue either. But either way, this is
wait, that's a good point. Great point. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
The Chiefs can be trusted by Patrick Mahomes when things get off
Definitely
kilter,
can.
when he gets surpassed by others. They'll tear up the contract and give him another one. I think part of the problem here, and this gets back to what we were talking about yesterday with the American oligarchy, Jerry Jones was never going to tear up it. You think he's going to tear up that deal? You think if Jerry Jones had the Patrick Mahomes contract, do you think if Dak Prescott had just taken the Patrick Mahomes contract? Remember I said last year, and people lost their minds, if you put the contract in front of Dak Prescott, removed Patrick Mahomes' name and put in Dak Prescott's name, he would tell you to shove it. He's not signing that contract. People are like, who does he think he is? Well, he's not signing that contract. And one of the reasons why, the Cowboys would not cut you any breaks down the road. They're not going to say, well, the market really has outperformed what we thought it would, and the salary cap's gone up, and you really have a bad deal here. Well, sucks for you. Good for us, bad for you. That's America. That's capitalism. That's how they've made all their money, is doing good deals. The Cowboys aren't ripping that thing up. The Chiefs, who once upon a time were the crosstown rivals of the Cowboys when they were the Dallas Texans, they're going to rip that up at the appropriate time because they want to keep their guy happy.
No doubt. I would think so. And the fact that they're going to be able to look at it and go, man, we were kind of in a tight spot when we wanted to give you, your last contract with Tyreek Hill and Chris Jones and all those things. And I think they'll do them a solid and, try to do their best there. But obviously, Patrick Mahomes didn't care. I mean, that's another thing that just jumps out to you about this contract when you compare it just apples to apples. He was willing to sacrifice a lot of money and things to make sure the team is really good around him. We'll see. And like you've always said, I'm not trying to argue there's anything wrong. It's not your job to worry about the team. It's the owners and the GM and everything like that. I get it. But still, like Kristen, throw that last graphic up there. I mean, this blows
out over the first 4 years.
Yeah, it just blows. It blows everybody out of the water. I mean, this is a total game changer to where, I mean, every top quarterback in football is looking at this right now going, damn, I got ripped off, or damn, Jerry's got a lot of cash. Either way, that's the other thing that popped into my mind. Like, just off topic a little here. I mean, did Jerry supposedly, hit it rich, right? 2 weeks ago with the power outage? And
he'd still have the money.
I know. I just didn't know. Maybe it was a little extra cash that came in to where he goes, okay, it didn't matter. All right, fine.
Whatever extra money he made or didn't make, this is a deal they had to do because otherwise, as we discussed yesterday and previous times before that, Dak Prescott could have just said, I'm going forward under this franchise tag, 37.68, and I'll become a free agent next year. So and I'll put that graphic back up. Let's make sure people understand what this is. This is the payout under the first 4 years of the current contracts these quarterbacks have. So when Russell Wilson signed his latest deal, he had a year left on it. The first 4 years under that new deal, when you rip up the existing deal and put a new one in place, pays out $131. Dak Prescott, $29 million north of that. Aaron Rodgers, his most recent deal, 4 years under his most recent deal, $124.5. Blown out of the water by Dak Prescott. And, Aaron Rodgers may look at this and say, wait a minute here. Something's wrong with this picture. But you know what? Rodgers never played out his leverage to the hilt.
Right.
He would always take that 6-year contract, 6-year extension. Remember when he signed his second big deal with the Packers in 2013, I think it was, he committed all the way through 2019. So that's what Prescott avoided. Having the team control the back end of the deal when it becomes a year-to-year proposition and there's nothing binding player to team. The Cowboys are bound to Prescott for the next 3 years. That fourth year is where the action's going to be. That's where the Cowboys and Prescott need to work out something new, or he is walking away, or at least walking to the open market, and we'll let the market determine his value after 4 seasons, Chris, because of and this shows you the lack of trust, the lack of, and it's not a bad way. It's what, trust but verify, or whatever the term is, but the Prescott and his agents weren't willing to just blindly assume that the Cowboys are going to play ball here. So they got protection 3 different ways to avoid a franchise tag in 2025, March of 2025. The first, there will be a no tag clause. It wasn't in the contract as of last night. There will be one. Secondly, there's 2 avoidable years on the back end of this deal, and I don't want to get into the weeds on this. This is about cap management and the Cowboys being able to shove cap dollars into future years down the line and right now, spreading it out over more years. Those 2 years go away after the 2024 season. They go away. The way it's written, they go away. Those years are never going to happen. But here's the beauty of it. The DeMarcus Lawrence deal, it has voidable years that go away in advance of the deadline for applying the franchise tag. So the contract goes away. In theory, the Cowboys would have the ability to tag him after the years go away. Dak Prescott's voidable years go away after the deadline for applying the franchise tag. So he's not even eligible to be tagged when his years go away, so he can't be tagged that way. And then the third thing is they required the Cowboys to apply the second tag. They required it. It's been called a procedural move. Baloney. Dak Prescott and his agents said, you're applying this tag because the next tag is a 44% raise over whatever my cap number was. He's never getting tagged again for his entire career. Cowboys or anyone else. I mean, he could, but it's a 44% bump.
Yeah, right.
So they got 3 different ways to ensure he's getting to the market in 2025 if they don't extend the deal at some point before the end of the 2024 season.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is one of those where, and again, I don't know every detail here, but I know all the basics here from what we've seen last night and what you've written on Pro Football Talk and everything. I mean, yeah, I mean, the 4th year, I would doubt we even get to the 4th year. I'm expecting to hear renegotiation right around there, like you kind of earlier said. You know, it's rarely you see, and it looks like they believe totally in Dak Prescott, that they got their guy. It's rarely you see a franchise guy in his prime walk away from his team, you know. And I think they're also thinking, hey, we've done a good job of, you know, setting up some talent around you and doing those things where, you know, franchise quarterbacks, especially once you get $95 million in your, you know, pocket in the first year, you start to, okay, I'm good. I'm set up for life.
75.
75, sorry. 95,
Still
you know,
good.
over 2. What is it? When does he get 95?
95 over 2.
95 over 2. Damn, it's a lot of money. But, yes, you know, once you get to that point, that's when, it's year 4. Hey, Dak, we want to sign this guy on defense. We want to do this. And as a player and as a quarterback, you're so established at one place, and you've got an environment and things around you that you're used to, you like. You don't want to go to a new place and start a new challenge and have to deal with all of that, to where it's very rare and unlikely that he wouldn't be there. And I would think it's going to be something redone, you know, in that 4th year. Give them some more money up front, right? And then they'll figure out a way to lessen a number or whatever to play with that. But I don't look at it as a big deal or as a threat as Dak Prescott's going to be out of there in 4 years or anything like that.
Right.
Right.
But Chris, maximum leverage is what he's going to have the next time around, because there's no franchise tag to be had after these 4 years. That's his leverage. That's his hammer. When they get into 2024, the 4th year of this deal, he just has to, you know, what do you want? I want it all. And look, we're going to have the pearl clutchers out there who you're never going to win a Super Bowl. Well, okay. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But you know,
but my grandkids are set up for life.
Well, grandkids and their grandkids are going to be set up for life the way this thing's going if he gets another deal like this. And think about where the world's going to be 3 years from now, where the TV money's going to be 3 years from now, where gambling will be 3 years from now. You know, this idea of, and again, Patrick Mahomes has a lot of faith in the Kansas City Chiefs, and that faith will be returned. And that faith is worthwhile as long as he plays like we've seen him play. But whether it's Dak, whether it's Patrick Mahomes, whether it's Tom Brady, whether it's anyone else, the moment you no longer have value to the team, you're gone. You're done.
Right.
So this balance, this philosophical thing, what we talked about yesterday, how much is enough?
Yeah.
Everything is enough. Everything is enough. You get everything you can because none of this other stuff can be controlled. You can't control whether or not you're going to win a Super Bowl. You can go out and play your best. You got 21 other guys on the field. And, hey, the Cowboys have done a good job drafting, as evidenced by the fact that they got Dak Prescott in round 4.
Sure.
Go out and draft some guys. You've got devices that make it easier for you to go out and get players who are cheap, who you can put around me. So you go do your job, I'll do my job, and off we go. And that is so contrary to the Tom Brady approach. And I've seen people comparing Dak Prescott to Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's only making $25 million this year, and Tom Brady's working on Super Bowl number 8. Well, good for him. Good for him. He made his choices, and we've talked about the psychology of life with Belichick, and one of the reasons why he was taking less, he was afraid that Belichick was going to say, I'm paying this guy too much money, I'm getting rid of him.
Yeah.
But as long as you're earning that money, you're going to stay. The moment they think you're not, no matter who you are, the moment they think they can do better than you, you're gone. So get what you can, while you have your skills and while you have a team that's willing to give it to you. Because the moment that window closes, they will have thrown you out of it right before it closes.
No, there's no doubt. I mean, it's brutal. I've learned it firsthand. I saw my dad go through it. I mean, it's a cutthroat business. It's the most cutthroat business.
You went through it.
I know.
You went through it. You did the Buccaneers a favor. Did they do you a favor after you lost your spleen?
No, they gave me a 2-year contract and gave me a little money. They did. I will say that. The Glazier family stepped up and gave me a little something after the fact to where that year after I couldn't play. Now, they didn't know I wasn't going to be able to play at that point. I think they thought, everything will be hunky-dory and all of that. But they did try to do.
They thought they were buying low.
They thought they were buying low, and they were giving me, a little compassion for the fact that I almost died, I think. But yeah, I mean, you're right. But either way, no. Once they realized I wasn't normal and everything like that, Gruden wanted to sell my butt down the river. He didn't give a damn anymore after that.
How long did it take them to figure out that you're not normal? It took me about 3 weeks.
Well, mentally normal, they were already in on that. Physically normal, it was not long after the spleen where it just got worse and worse, really. But you're right, it's cutthroat, and this is where, it is interesting. You sign this kind of contract, this kind of money, hey, Dak Prescott's going to have a lot of pressure on him. There's no doubt about it. Like, if they don't play well, it's going to be exactly what you said. It's going to be a lot of that, well, I mean, you're taking all the money. How can we have a defense? How can we do that? And all of those types of things. But where this one's a little different, and I look at Dak and go, yeah, he's going to have the pressure. But, man, the one thing he's got is support around him and talent around him. And, I would be shocked, again, with this wide receiving core they got, the O-line, yeah, it's aging, but it's still good, that I would be shocked that he's not statistically one of the 5 best quarterbacks in football. Once again, they're going to ride him. It's about the passing game. And that added to the leverage, too, to what you talked about yesterday. The days of Zeke and Zach Martin and the Tyrone Smith dominating the line of scrimmage, and we're going to run for 5 yards no matter what defense. It's over. It's over. Zeke is not a top 5 running back. The O-line is not a top 5 O-line anymore. So you mentioned all the money leverage that Dak Prescott had. The team right now, the only strength of the team you can look at really is to go the pass game. And it ain't that strong without number Dak Prescott, number 4. I almost blanked out on his damn number here. But it ain't that strong without him, as we saw last year. And, like we've talked about a lot, Jerry's getting up there in years, and you don't want to start back at square one trying to find a quarterback when you got one. So I'm really happy for Dak Prescott. I know I've pushed back a little bit about, what's he asking for? Is it realistic and all those things? Listen, I'm just talking, because I had a few people challenge me like that last night. No, it's not. I'm cool with Dak Prescott. He's the man. He's the cover of my Twitter page. I really like the guy. I'm a big fan. So I'm happy to see him get that money.
Only because you're in it. I mean, it's not like
okay.
Like
I took other
Prescott
pictures with other guys. I got other pictures of quarterbacks. Okay, so the hell with you.
Is it the side eye? Is the side eye the cover of your Twitter page?
It is. It's the bed. I only mess with Dak Prescott on the bed and things like that. That's all we do. That's all we do.
Okay, 371 passing yards per game is what he was averaging last year before his injury. Now his injury was in week 5, but he was on pace for 5,936 passing yards if he had continued that. And it helps to have the receivers and the running back in Ezekiel Elliott. And you have to, look, on the surface, who else can they afford to pay now? Well, the one thing to keep in mind, because they did this deal with the $66 million signing bonus, the voidable years, you can spread that 66 out 5 years, reduces his signing bonus cap charge this year to $11 million. Throw on the $9 million in salary, that's $22 million.
Yeah.
$21 million.
No, 20. It said 20. I thought it was 22 too, but maybe I'm wrong.
22-2. You're right. It is 22-2. That is $15 million less than what his cap number was going to be. So that's why. And I made the argument a few weeks ago. You got to get this deal done before the start of the new league year because you got to reduce that cap number.
Right.
Now it's easier for you to do business. And actually, they think they're going to have more cap issues next year. That's the Cowboys' fear. Next year, maybe in part because they're pushing all these other dollars into future years. But they have the ability next year to take the $20 million he's going to make, reduce it as far as they can, turn it into a signing bonus, and spread it out. That's why there's 2 voidable years on there. So they have more room, more years that they can push money into. And that piper has to be paid at some point. But the thinking is by the time those dollars hit the cap is going to be through the roof because of not just TV, but all the money that the NFL owners are going to make and the teams are going to make and the players are going to make via the salary cap from gambling. Yeah. That's the big bet here, no pun intended. And that's why it's so important for Dak to get back to the market or at least back in position where he's renegotiating, Chris, because the world will be very different in 3 years. 3 years ago, as of right now, sports wagering was not legal. It was legal only in Nevada, and I don't know, do they do it in Atlantic City, but it was primarily in Nevada.
Right.
And then after May 12, I think it was, 2018, that's when the floodgates opened. That was less than 3 years ago. So 3 years from now, who knows where we're going to be. And I think it's always better to do a shorter deal. You rarely see a quarterback get a 4-year deal at signing, 4 years. Russell Wilson does 4-year extensions with 1 year left, 5-year deal. 4-year deal from signing, practical matter, renegotiation after 3. Another big payday coming for Dak.
Yeah.
And amazing. Of all the teams out there to be stared down and backed into a corner, it was the Cowboys. And I'm told that there is a certain level of amazement within the Cowboys organization that Prescott and his representatives held firm the way they did. They've never encountered someone who's held that firm, rolled the dice, and had the dice land when 7 is good. 7 isn't always good.
Right.
Sometimes it's bad. Sometimes it's good. This is a good 7 for Dak Prescott.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it just, again, you can't be happy enough for the guy. And Mike, like the salary cap hit thing, that was the thing that jumped out to me maybe more than anything. Because I expected, once I looked at the details and what was going to be the cap hit this year, I just was going, man, wait, how are they going to do this and pay him all this money? And what's his cap hit going to be? And now how are they going to fix their football team? Because as we've talked about, I mean, there's issues. Yeah, there's still some high-end talent at certain positions, but there's a lot of needs on the football team, through and through. We talked about it a little yesterday. They could use another corner, 2 safeties. Yeah. Difference makers on the D-line. I don't know if there's anybody really special on the D-line. Demarcus Lawrence is real good. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think he's special. So, the fact that they were creative and the Jones family and just finding out a way, like you said, to spread out the cap hit and do those type of things. Yeah, the Pied Piper's going to call a few years from now, but either way, this is the year where they got to really do some work and kind of rebuild their football team. And you see this notable free agents here. I mean, not all these guys are must-haves, but I would think there's a few on here that they'd want to keep. Some are homegrown talent, and let alone they just need to get out in free agency and get some improvement players there too. So this is a big offseason for the Dallas Cowboy organization.
I'm calling it now. Old takes exposed. You can mark me down. Amari Cooper, this is going to be his last year with Dallas.
I wouldn't be shocked.
His contract, $20 million a year.
Well,
with all these receivers flooding into the draft every year, all these great receivers, $20 million a year for a receiver when you're paying that much to Dak, Amari Cooper is going to be one of the eventual victims of this contract. Not this year, but I think next year.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's the good thing about the CeeDee Lamb draft pick. That kind of gives them the flexibility to move on from that, and buy themselves some time there before they got to pay any of these other receivers. But they are literally at the point where they have like too many receivers. They're so talented at the position that it's you'd put it up there with anybody when they got the right quarterback. I mean, that's how good they are. It's explosive. They got it all. When you talk about CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper added with, Gallup, right? I mean, that's a damn good three. I could sit here and argue Michael Gallup's a low-end number 1 in the NFL. So when you look at that, that's, I think, again, part of the leverage, too, for Dak Prescott in this, to go, wait, we got these receivers. We better get a guy who can capitalize on these guys running all over the field and doing that type of stuff. And I think that added to the leverage of, all the other things that you threw in there with it.
What's the next move for the Cowboys now that they have their biggest order of business that they've been trying to close for a couple of years done? What do they do next this offseason?
I mean, to me, Mike, it kind of goes back to what we were just saying a second ago. The defensive side of the ball, getting some different men on the front line there. That's where it's got to change. Do
you try to re-sign your guys, or do you say, you know what, there's going to be a bloodletting out there. We're going to go bargain shopping. We did anything but bargain shop.
Right.
With Dak, right? They went to the most expensive section of the store to get Dak. So now with whatever they have left, they got to go down to the bargain basement.
Yeah, well, okay. Now, like, I look at the guys that they got that are free agents, like Tyrone Crawford, who's been a hell of a player there for a long time, can do D-tackle, DN, but he's getting up there in age. He's got injury. He's had little injury issues here. Like, I don't look at it as that a must-have. Antoine Woods, he's going to fit the Dan Quinn system and shoot the one gap and do those type of things. But again, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh my gosh, if they don't have Antoine Woods, their team's going to fall apart. So I really expect them to go out and find some of the guys that, like you just mentioned, guys that the money is just too much for a certain team this year. Yeah, they're still a good player, but the team is in a tough spot because of the salary cap in 2021 here, and they got to make a cut, and now they can find some of these guys for somewhat value-type signings. I think that's what we're going to see from Dallas here, and I think it starts with the defensive line, and then you start to get into the safety position, because if you're going to run the Dan Quinn Seattle defense, you got to have pretty damn good safeties. We've talked about that with all those defensive schemes throughout the NFL. When you
give me the one name on that list. Give me the one name on that list that they must keep. Who's the one guy they must keep?
Well, the guy that has the most talent there to me is like the Chidobe Awuzie. He's a guy that can be a corner safety. He can do a lot of different things in the back end to where, he could play corner for a few more years, and then he's the type of guy, because the way he tackles and he's physical, that he could be a safety too. So I almost look at him as going, hey, he's in the prime of his career. You drafted him, I believe, the second round, 4 years ago. There's a lot of positives, and the secondary's not that talented. So he would be the one guy I would look at right there to where I'd have a mark on him and hope we could keep him.
And as I said, there may be some other guys out there who want to come play with Dak. I mean, is Dak the kind of magnet that Tom Brady is? I don't know. Maybe now that he got this contract, he is. Maybe there's going to be an extra level of credibility, an extra level of sizzle. It's still the Cowboys. They're on national TV as much as any team, even when they're not relevant, even when they're not good. I think maybe the Jones father and son operation will be looking to find ways to get some guys at a cheaper amount.
Yeah,
and get some of that $20 7-Eleven wine to go along with the giant bottle of Dom Perignon that they had to buy last night in Dak Prescott. The deal still wasn't done. It still wasn't officially done last night, and it's still not done today.
Just minor details still getting figured out.
Highly unlikely it would fall apart. Yeah. Highly unlikely it would fall apart. But it's a hell of a deal for Dak Prescott. The Cowboys only have themselves to blame for waiting as long as they did to do it. But at the same time, it gave them another season and change to see that Dak's the real deal. Because the other side of that coin is you move too quickly, and then you eventually are saying, if not sooner than that, what the hell did we do? And that's what the Eagles were thinking with Carson Wentz and what the Rams were thinking with Jared Goff. So you know your guy better than anyone.
That's right.
You got to make that decision. You have to make the informed decision. Are you going to make that investment? And, next up, I was talking to some people about this last night, Lamar Jackson. What's going to happen with Lamar Jackson after this Dak Prescott deal, considering that Lamar Jackson doesn't have an agent? And folks, look, I've said this time and again. People are like, "Oh, you're just trying to help your agents." Well, they ain't paying me, right?
No. Listen. Yeah, agents
a good agent gets. A good agent is there to tell you, don't take that deal.
Right.
Here's why you shouldn't take that deal.
Right.
A good agent is there to say, here's how you protect yourself against getting screwed.
Exactly.
A no tag clause, not enough. Let's put some other stuff in there to keep them from franchise tagging you now or at any point in the future. That's where a good agent comes into play. They have the relationships. They have the understanding of the contracts. The challenge is to find a good one. I'll concede there are some bad ones out there. I've dealt with them.
Right.
But Lamar Jackson, and this is the challenge for the Ravens. What do we do here? How far do we push this? How much is it going to look like Patrick Mahomes or Dak Prescott? That's the range. How close to one end or the other will Lamar Jackson be? But the reality is, Chris, we'll go back to that point. The moment that Lamar Jackson is no longer Lamar Jackson, he's no longer the starting quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. Period. It's done. It's over. Yeah. So you got to get what you can while you can.
Right. Well, and again, like when you say that, when he's no more longer, like you mean like he can't run around and do some of that stuff?
When he's not great.
I get
They're not going to pay him a high amount of money when he's not great.
Yeah.
They would come to him and say, you're taking a pay cut, we're going to trade you, we're going to cut you, whatever. That's the way it works.
Yeah, no.
They always are looking. They always are assessing. They always are deciding, are you the best option? There are no sacred cows in the NFL, so you get what you can while you can. That's the challenge. And Lamar Jackson's up next. Russell Wilson's going to be back in line at some point. Aaron Rodgers may be, the way Dak Prescott gave you the side eye, he may be giving even more of a side eye to Mark Murphy and Brian Gutekunst now, wanting his contract to be adjusted so they're bound to him for multiple years. Just like Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl kind of screwed things up for some quarterbacks, this Dak Prescott contract may screw some things up for some other quarterbacks too, Chris.
Yeah, no, I could see that, certainly. And, well, I mean, we heard, like, that's out there, right? That Green Bay has gone to Rodgers about restructuring already back in January, I believe. That was part of the talk. So I'm sure they'll find a way to, again, maybe more guaranteed money, signing bonus, something like that to throw his way. If they're trying to find ways to create more room with the cap or anything like that. The bottom line is the Jones family, they knew they got their guy. This is not Carson Wentz or Dak or Jared Goff. He's not that. He's extremely talented. He's been extremely consistent, and he does everything else right as far as the intangibles. So he's got tangibles and intangibles. And, yeah, okay, he's not, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson. He's right next there, though. It's not that far off. It's people, again, we didn't give Dak Prescott the credit he deserved for when he was playing well. Because, yeah, it's not as sexy as Russell Wilson and Watson and Josh Allen and the sidearm and the flair. But there's so many subtle plays where he's got people around him and they're grabbing at him. He throws a great throw. The pocket's collapsing, and he's got to move just a little bit and make a throw from an awkward position with people around him as he's going to get hit. He can do that. He can run and scramble. He's a legit run threat down in the goal line. So, yeah, maybe not top 5, but he's right on the edge looking in. And if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you don't let a guy like that, get out of town and get out of your grasp.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.